Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today on our call, we have Albert Friesen, the CEO of Medicure. Medicure trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol MPH and on the OTC under MCUJF. The company is trading at $1.20 with roughly 10 million shares outstanding, or about a $12 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Happy to have Albert Friesen with us today. Albert, we spoke about a month or so ago and got a little bit more sort of up to speed with Medicure, but it is a company that Trevor and I have been following for a number of years, and excited to have you here because we really sort of discovered that you're sort of taking a bit of a pivot with the business, and certainly want to hear as much as we can, and happy that you can join us today.
Thank you, Paul and Trevor, and thank you for all of you on the line. Thank you for the opportunity to share, obviously, an exciting story for me, Medicure. I'll just let you know that I will be making some forward-looking statements, and therefore you're advised to look at the risks that are clearly outlined in our MD&A and the Form 20F. We're also filing SEC registrants, so we file in Canada and the US, and there's lots of disclosures, so you're welcome to have a look. I'm not moving forward now. Frozen. There we go. So I started the company in '97 with a number of goals, and have been involved as, by and large, as CEO and chair. Dr. Neil Owens, who couldn't be with us, but is always can become available at some point if there's further interest. He is the president and chief operating officer. He joined us about 6 or 7 years ago as a medical science liaison. He's a PhD in chemistry, studied in Canada and in France, and he's a Winnipegger, had left for a number of years and had an interest in coming back, and I definitely had an interest in his skill set, and has done a great job in day-to-day management. And so there are 5 sort of general takeaways or main focuses. We're focused on cardiovascular pharmaceutical sales in the US market only. Although we're based in Winnipeg, Canada, our focus is on marketing in the US. And the obvious reason is the US market is at least 60% of the world's drug market, and it's probably 80% of the profit. So it's clearly the defining market in the world. I started the company in development of a drug, which I'll come back to a bit later, but also had an interest in learning marketing. And I had done a lot of drug development in the past for the last 40 years. But in '97 and around 2000, I really thought there was an opportunity to innovate in pharmaceutical marketing. The traditional marketing is sales rep working out of the homes in a region. Pfizer had 12,000 sales reps launching and selling Lipitor in the US alone. And that was a traditional. And at the time, as we all know, the Amazons of this world started to come and sell books and other things. And the pharmaceutical industry continued to, with its original or its main model. And so my goal was looking at marketing and some innovations in this. We have initially acquired a hospital product, Agristat, that Merck had developed, and then Zypitamag from an Indian company, Zydus, which is a statin. We have other products in the development, and as a generic, we have a BLA as a biosimilar, and we have another new product in development, but our focus is on selling and making money. The innovation, which we'll come to in a bit, which Paul referred to, is direct consumer sales for growth and profitability. And we believe in carefully investing in new products, indications, and very much committed to the shareholders and returning profits to the shareholders. And I'll come back to that in a minute as well. So products, Aggrastat. We acquired Aggrastat from Merck. They developed it, they abandoned it. The market, they had 2% of the market, which is a GP2B3 market in the US. And we grew it from 2% to 65%. And Zypitamag is a statin. It's the 7th statin on the market. It has some advantages. And again, it's up against generics of Lipitor, Crestor, and so on. So we have a unique opportunity. One of the generics, sodium nitroprusside, is a hospital product, and we just developed it ourselves to complement Aggrastat and other hospital products. We have another generic, as I said, a biosimilar, and a new product that we'll come to in a rare disease. So we have a timeline. We acquired Aggrastat in 2006. It took us a while to learn. We changed, improved the label in 2013, and the rest was history. Along the way, we were looking for additional products. In 2017, or 2015, we acquired Apocor, which is a generic manufacturer based in New Jersey and India. We were looking at the cardiovascular drugs they have to complement ours. We bought it and sold it, although we would have liked to keep it. Mylan came along and offered us $140 million. We had paid $50 million. And we did a transaction in several months. So we made a fair bit of money. And as I said earlier, we value our shareholders, and we took a good portion of that profit that we made and returned it to shareholders in a substantial issue bid, and actually returned $26 million in 2019 at $6.50. And Paul said Trevor said our share price is $1.20 right now. So our shareholders benefited, as we did, from that transaction, and enabled us to buy some other products. The transaction most recently has been the acquisition of Marley Drug Pharmacy, based out of North Carolina. And I'll come to why we think this is a really significant opportunity. It's a pharmacy that is licensed in all 50 states. It's a cash business. It eliminates the need for insurance and the hassles of what's called PBMs, the pharmacy benefit managers. And we have a very cost-efficient way of selling not only the drugs that they have, but adding our branded Zypitamag to grow it substantially. And we'll be launching additional products in the coming years. This shows the potential. 2020, we closed with about 11.6 million of revenue. This year, we're projecting, with the addition of Marley and some Zypitamag growth, something just in the order over 20 million. And that will continue to grow to 60 million over the coming years, according to our projections. These are the contributions. The generic that we introduced, SMP, is a small contributor, mainly Zypitamag, and the one that's not on here is Marley Drug. This is our approach. I want to explain a little bit about the Marley Drug. So their pharmacy in North Carolina, 50 states, and they have 30,000 existing customers. Their revenue is around 6 million. That's US. They had an EBITDA of 1.5, and we paid 8 million to purchase it. And basically, the EBITDA pays for the purchase price of the existing. But what it does is provides us an opportunity to market Zypitamag in a very low cost. It's a mail order pharmacy. And for those that aren't familiar with the insurance process in the US, when we acquire, I'm going to give you an example of the challenges. When we acquired Zypitamag, it has an advantage that it has less side effects than some of the other statins, but marketing against generics. Lipitor can be available from Walmart for a few dollars, something in the order of $20, $30 a month. And so, but the insurers wanted us to, and we thought we could market it for anywhere from the $50 to $100 a month. They refused to insure us unless we charged $500. Why would they do that? Because they get 20% of the WAC price. So they get 20% is more than on 500 than it is on 100. And so they play the game of keeping the sales, the pharma companies hostage to their game of insurance. And although the big pharmas do it, the three major PBMs in the US are larger than any pharmaceutical company. They're huge companies, which are then taking the spread between what we can sell for $30 and make money and the $500, they take the spread in between and pushing the product sales up. We said, this isn't fair and this isn't right. And we came across Marley, who was a pharmacy that's had the same sort of philosophy, and said they sell their drugs at affordable price. They actually use a co-op to buy their price, where the co-op shares the profits on the sales with the pharmacy, with Marley. And we can now sell Zypitamag for $1 a day, $90 for 90 days, and make more money than we could with the insurers. And it's a mail order. So we're bolting on some other components where we go e-commerce and advertising to the patient. We have many examples of patients, and I can give you two personal examples. I had a friend in Ohio who was on a statin. He says, "What's your new product?" And I said, "Zypitamag." He had considerable myalgia, and he switched to Zypitamag, and it disappeared. So there is a benefit to Zypitamag, and now we can provide it very cost efficiently. So this gives you that gives you a pretty big, good overview of Medicure. As I said, we're 10 million shares outstanding, and in February we were trading at $1.70, we're $1.20, and basically we have net revenue. And if you look at the last quarter, Q1 of 2021, we're breaking even, and our growth is growing. We're growing now, and with net gains in EBITDA. So we had invested in some products, including buying Zypitamag over the last few years, and so we had some losses. But now we're going to build up cash again. This quickly shows you the sales of Aggrastat as the red. We went up against Integralin, and we took over the business. And the innovation that we did to achieve this was a unique sales approach. Originally, I had hired 25 sales reps in the US. It was very expensive. They weren't making progress. We terminated all 25. We hired one salesperson in Winnipeg and one scientist to help the salesperson. And we traveled out of Winnipeg to the hospitals with key opinion leaders and targeted sales. Our cost went from $350 US per FTE to $120 Canadian for our sales force. And that's what built this. This was to the hospital, innovation in the hospital market. And it shows you the sales of Aggrastat. Basically, we added the new indication and the sales on clinical data. Now, this is Zypitamag. I'm going through quickly because I wanted to really tell you the story and then enable you to ask questions if you have specific interest. As I said, it's a unique statin, which is metabolized by a different cytochrome and not by the C450, so that it doesn't have the side effects with patients that are on multi-drugs. And this applies particularly to diabetics and patients that are on HIV patients are on multi-drugs. And so they have significant less side effects than they do with other statins. Well, sales growth, although it's very small at this present time, we did get some coverage, but it's very small and poor coverage compared to others. What we see, this was the sales growth of Aggrastat. Where we see Zypitamag is in this region right now. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. We're just with the Marley drug acquisition, we see the opportunity to grow very substantially. SNP is a small product that we developed as a generic in-house, but it's complementary and being sold to the hospitals. The biosimilar is a bigger product. We've partnered with a company called Reliance Life Sciences in India. Reliance is the largest Indian company, multi-billion-dollar company, and they have a specialty in developing a number of biosimilars. And one of them is a very good cardiovascular biosimilar, which they are now selling in India, and we're getting approved in the US through the FDA. We have other generics, and we are targeting a 2023, 24 probably by the time we get it on the market. Oh, pardon me. So the other innovation, as I said earlier, when I started Medicure, we were developing a drug called paradoxal 5-phosphate, which is a metabolite. We went through the preclinical phase 1, phase 2s, phase 3s for the protection against ischemic reperfusion injury. And we treated some 4,000 patients worldwide in various phase 3s. Now the phase 3 didn't quite meet statistical significance in the final pivotal study. So we transitioned and focused on our sales. We had acquired Aggrastat. And so we focused on sales at that time. What we did look at is what alternative application, and there's a genetic disease called paradoxal PNPO deficiency. There's only about less than 100 patients. We've received orphan drug status and ability to get a voucher. The voucher is awarded by the FDA when we get approvals, and sales of these vouchers to pharma companies have been anywhere from $100 to $200 million. And so that would be our goal in developing that drug. So I've quickly, maybe gone over quickly, but I welcome questions, but I know your time's important. Cardiovascular, US market, over the counter, other products, and tremendous growth with our acquisition of Marley.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. What impresses me the most here is, or gets me probably the most excited, is the fact that you're taking, you're sort of melding two things together. And one is, sort of drug discovery or access to drugs and a new way of marketing them. And I really want to sort of spend the right amount of time to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about here. So the Marley drug purchase that you guys made, that they were already selling drugs. They were already selling all sorts of different products that they have access to. But really what we're talking about now is you being able to take a pipeline of drugs and put them through sort of a new way of marketing those drugs directly. So you're cutting out a lot of the middlemen to some degree. Is that not correct?
That's absolutely correct. We also have looking at our bypassing some of the 3PLs and all that. We basically get the product shipped from Zydus in India to Marley. There's a robot that packages it and sends out the scripts. Scripts come in, and the drug is delivered within 48 hours, and we're trying to get it in within 24 hours. And so the whole new area, the hassles of going to a pharmacy, checking on insurance, the doctor has to say, when a patient comes in, are you insured? What insurance do you have? In this case, the doctor gives a script for Zypitamag. We take the script and deliver it very cost efficiently and directly to the patient.
So like what I'm really trying to figure out right now is how do you determine what the sort of addressable market is for you guys directly with this new methodology of selling product? I mean, it's one thing to say this product category is X. You're now selling it in a new way. Does that how do you determine what your addressable market is for your product pipeline now? And then give me a sense of where you hope to be.
The addressable, there are 11 million patients in the US that could benefit from zypitamag.
Mhm.
There are, we've had a number of discussions with primary care physicians. 50% of their patients that over 65 that come into their office they prescribe statins, and about over half of those are diabetics and multi-drugs. So if you take the statistics, there are 11 million people that would benefit. Going through the insurance, going from the visiting all this, there are 400,000 primary care physicians. To visit all those 400,000 primary, that's why Pfizer had 12,000 salespeople. And the cost of that is huge. What we're trying to do, and we have some other things that we're exploring, is setting up our e-commerce and marketing directly to patients. For those of you that are in the US, I hazard a guess that a quarter or more of the commercials are drugs. And so the pharma companies are already marketing to patients. And we continue to do to doctors as well. So we're adding and looking at expanding the Marley opportunity, not only to the 30,000 customers is a very, very small number of customers. We're looking at millions of customers and attracting them to this model. And I can say that those number of companies who have got new drugs that have been approved have approached us already and said, we have challenges getting insurance. It takes us a year or two to go through these PBMs. And they're approaching us about whether they can use this mail order model to introduce their product. So we see not only the huge opportunity for zypitamag, but then bolting on other drugs that people come to us and then sharing the profit. And the key is, just like in the books or other products, is making that e-commerce very, very user-friendly and delivering right to the door. One question that a lot of people will say, well, this is a cash business only, no insurance. I mean, we could do insurance, but it's focused on the cash. They say, well, a lot of patients have insurance. Why are they going to come to pay cash? Two reasons. One, at $30 per month, a lot of them have deductibles pretty close to that, or co-pays close to that. They also have a limited amount on their insurance. And if they're going to use their insurance, why not use it on a $3,000 script versus a $30 script or a $1,000 script? Mm-hmm. And so there's more and more recognition. And the other one we're doing is approaching companies, large corporations, to almost self-insure. By connections with them, we can now provide them without having to do self-insure at the lower cost than insurance.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy you brought that up, because that was going to be the second part of my question. Was, well, actually, two extra questions you answered to her. It really was the idea that there's so many other products that can fit into this category that you guys don't have direct access to, but you have indirect access to. And I'm really interested to see how that model starts to prove itself out. And then, of course, yeah, like you said, the insurance side of it, you know, you're right. Most of this, the drugs that it looks like you're going to be able to sell, you're going to be able to sell for at close to the deductible or less. And the economics just make a ton of sense there. So, let's talk a little bit more about, I mean, what are your plans? You got 30,000 customers right now through Marley. How do you go and sort of advertise or market to try to get a larger, you know, number of clients?
Yeah, this is what we're working on right now to bolt on to the Marley drug. We're developing an e-commerce site, and we're also developing linkages to other sites that can bring traffic to our site. Mm-hmm. And I can't say much about it yet because we haven't completed the transaction, but that'll be coming in the coming months. So that the next part is, how do you reach the 11 million potential clients? And I'm not saying we'll get 11 million, but that's the volume. Now, how do we reach them? And other business models are out there that do this. And so we're in the process of bolting that technology onto ours.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to jump a little bit back and forth on a couple of different questions here, but COVID, I can't sort of go without asking about what we've seen over the sort of last year. How does COVID affect your current operations? And then I have to imagine, the idea of being able to get drugs through mail order and online, does COVID actually improve the outlook for your business?
COVID has definitely hurt our business in the past year, a little bit, or so I would say more than a little, but it actually provides an opportunity for the future. When I said earlier, when I started Medicure, I had 3 goals. One of them was learn marketing and innovate in marketing. And I used to say to our staff in the last 5 or 6 years, my goal was to get our sales rep out of the doctor's office and the doctor into our office. And because the cost of going and reaching, you can reach more if they come to our office, so to speak, the internet. And there, I received resistance not only from others, but even our staff. They're so used to going to visit the salespeople, but COVID has helped us. We have to now market, and we have to get the doctor in our office. So telemedicine has been talked about for decades. Actually, I started looking at it more than, I would say, 20 years ago. And there's been a lot of resistance. The transition to telemedicine has been so rapid. Doctors, again, the doctors and if any doctors are on the call, I have to apologize, but it's true. I've been involved with visiting physicians and doing calls myself, and going electronic and internet has been slow. Even initial, 20, 30, 20, 25 years ago, just getting even the booking and through the internet was slow to be adopted in many, at least in Canada, very slow. But the rest of the industry, we bank, and then they say, well, confidential, and then the other one was scripts. You know that most scripts are faxed today, and they still use the fax machine, not electronically. They say, well, confidentiality, but all of us bank. We have the confidence to send our money to a bank and transfer that electronically. Yep. So there have been resistances just to change. COVID has helped that change.
Yeah.
And we see this is actually a transformative time for our industry and our company in terms of accelerating where we wanted to go. And Marley came up. We were actually looking at setting up our own pharmacy with the ability to get 50 licenses in states is very time consuming. A pharmacist that fills a script has to be licensed in each single state. They can only sell in the state that they're licensed in. So this whole process required what Marley had, and he'd been working on this for 7 or 8 years. And when we came across it, and he's very much aligned with our philosophy. I know he sold the business to us. He's excited about helping if he can, and he is.
And let's talk about the sale a little bit. Does he still have incentive? Like, is he a shareholder, or was it?
What we did is we had a purchase price, and then we've incentivized him by, if the growth of his business, not Zypitamag, but his business goes to levels of 10, 20 million, he gets additional payments.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. You mentioned the business is break even right now. Some of the things we talked about here, increased marketing, more product development, things like that, obviously cost money. Give us a sense of what your cash position is now and sort of what your future capital requirements look like.
So we have 2.5, 2.7, almost $3 million in the bank right now, no debt. What we decided to do is to take a bank loan of $5 million just to keep, which a bank rate less than 4% in the 3% range, to keep our capital, working capital up a bit higher. And so we have more cash than debt. Well, right now we don't have the debt, but we're planning to add it. We have just about $3 million of cash, but we are increasing our cash month by month now.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the stock right now. So I think I saw just over 10 million shares that are outstanding. You're a significant shareholder, if I remember correctly, but insider ownership, sort of the breakdown of who owns the stock. What can you tell us about that?
I own about 2.4 million, so 24%, maybe just a bit more than that, 24% of the stock. And there are one other larger shareholder, Cap, owns about 2.3 million shares, and the rest is widely held. I think there's one other shareholder of note, Pender, which might be about 1 million shares.
David, yes, David, good for you. So you purchased Marley. Do you see any other opportunities to buy more opportunities like that, or anything else in the M&A side?
We're even before Marley, we purchased Apicore. We sold it. We did make an investment in a company called Sensible Medical, which is a device which we were marketing, but we've switched because it's a device. We still own the investment of about $13 million, a company that's growing now substantially. And Marley, I would say that in the last 15 years, I'm pretty much negotiating 1 or 2 deals all the time. Sometimes they take a year. Apicore took me 3 years. And some of them, Marley happened in 6 months. But I'm probably looking at 2 or 3 deals all the time. Would it make sense to buy something else in sort of the mail order pharmacy business, or is it better to grow, the platform you have right now? Right now, our thinking is mainly growing the platform we have. It's a good platform, good staff. We have room. As I said, script filling is done by a robot right now. It's automatic and can fill a lot of scripts, and there's room to add 2, 3, or 4 robots. So if millions of people approach us, we can fill the scripts. And the other thing which you noted, and I didn't spend much time on, but Marley has been selling drugs, mainly generics, but they do have some branded drugs. And we're filling that portfolio of drugs so that we have all of the top 100 drugs that would be ordered by anybody. And so I think something like 98% of the drugs are within the top 100 drugs. So the goal would be that if anybody wants to order a drug, mail order drug, we would have it.
And how much money do you make selling, sort of one of these generics that aren't one of your drugs?
Okay, there's a big discrepancy in generics. Some of the drugs are erectile dysfunction, ED drugs. Margins are 80%.
Wow. Okay.
Our margins are on Zypitamag, Aggrastat. Our margins are in the 80% range.
Yeah.
There are generics that are in the 20%, and some of them 30%, and they do vary quite a bit. But
okay, so
generics would be in that range, 20, 30, 40%. But the rule of thumb we like to get to 80%.
But okay, so on the low side, you could see 20% in something that's being sold through you guys, but as high as 80%. That's right. It's a lot more than I thought. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we covered M&A. That's cool. Insider ownership. I'm trying to think what I've missed here. I mean, I'm excited by the idea that this seems like a very different model in terms of how to sell drugs, especially if you've got access to drugs yourselves. I'm fascinated by sort of what could be the hurdles. I mean, I see a question here from one of the listeners about, existing insurance companies. If all of a sudden you start to see some real traction here, the biggest losers are the insurance companies. How do we prevent them from stopping you from sort of doing what you're doing?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that's ultimately the PBMs, the insurance companies, are going to be challenged. I think this is a trend that's going to happen. Of course, there's strong lobbyists, the PBMs and the pharmaceutical companies. But this is a wave that's happening, just like I think the internet sales of books and everything else. But there will be hurdles. I've been in business long enough, believe it or not, 50 years this month, and these overnight successes are never overnight, and never with challenges, without challenges, I should say. And so we have to recognize that. And I think right now our big focus is getting the message out, advertising without having to advertise. We are doing some test marketing with TV ads. We'll be putting out a new TV ad, but we have to do this cost efficiently. And we're doing some test marketing of that. And then we're having our e-commerce and website designed is not the right word, but we're bolting on something where my message to our group is it's got to be the easiest, friendliest website and e-commerce, because that's the key to Amazon, right? There are many sites you can buy things, but we all go back to what's easiest and reliable. And so I'd say the biggest challenge we have is to make it easy and reliable and trustworthy. And then the business will grow. And that's it's easier said than done.
For sure, yeah. Simplicity sells, no question about it. Well, at this point, I want to remind everybody, if you got questions you'd like me to ask Dr. Friesen, please use your chat function, and I'll do my best to ask. What does keep you up at night? I mean, you've seen the industry from a whole bunch of different angles. You know what the hurdles are, but what are the things that are keeping you up at night right now to try to get this executed?
Timely, there's two things that if you ask me personally, I have two main personal goals. Dr. Neil Owens runs the business, but I sit on every one of the calls related to getting this website and e-commerce site set up the most efficiently as possible. I attend all those meetings. And we're doing this clinical trial in 10 patients with paradoxal 5-phosphate, which, as I said, the target is $100 million sale of a voucher. And to save these babies that are born with this genetic disease cannot make paradoxal 5-phosphate. And many of them die within weeks or months. And P5P will save them for life. And all they have to do is take a pill a day, and they have a normal life. And doing clinical trials is never easy, even though it's 10 patients, and making sure there are as little hiccups as possible. So those are the two things that keep me up at night.
Gotcha. That's great. There is a question that came in regards to AgriStat. Question reads, AgriStat grew from 2% to 65%. Is it currently at 65%, or what was the peak? Or was that the peak, rather?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we currently fill 65% of the orders on the GP2 business. But one of our competitors, as I showed you, is Integralin, and it went generic 2 years ago. and the price has gone down. So we compete on price to keep the business. And although we still make money, a substantial amount of money, our revenue has gone down. If you look at our sales in the last 2 years, we peaked at about 20 million and we're down at about 11 million. We may increase that a little bit now because the competition is, the generics are falling by the way. But we went from when we started where our revenue was less than 2 million, I think 1.5 million. We grew it just to past 20 million and now it's about 11. I think last year was 11 million.
Gotcha.
Now,
Appreciate it.
part of that we got hurt also by the U.S. Canadian. When we were selling 20 million, we had a 73, 74 cent dollar. Today we have an 83 cent dollar. So on a direct
Currency
comparison
translation.
basis, we'd probably be at a 13 or 14 million.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, another question. What kind of profit would you expect to see as revenue scale to 2020, 23, 24 and beyond, as far as those revenue projections?
We've always been hesitant to project sales and revenue. Now we've made some projections on revenue, but certainly once we get past the $15 million, because the G&A will not change much after that. And we're now spending a bit of R&D money on the PNPO patients. We expect to get back to the 20% or more, so we can get to generating 5, 10, 15, 20 million dollars of net revenue, net income or revenue, net income profits.
So 20% sort of profit margins you're expecting once you pass that $15 million mark. Okay, fair enough. So as investors, what sort of metrics or what should we be watching for us to sort of validate that you guys are executing your business plan? What are the metrics we should be watching closely? Well,
the easiest one and the one that we are driving towards is net revenue and then profit. As we said in our mission statement, we value our shareholders. We're driven for profit. We've in the past used part of that $50-60 million profit to make investments, to return some back to capital. Now that we've made the investments, we want to build back and share the profits.
And I'm thinking of your sort of that 30,000 number that you've got as far as existing customers for the pharmacy business. How do we find out, or how do we learn as you grow that number? I'm so curious because I keep thinking every customer is a sort of a $1 per month type of revenue. So how do we watch for growth there? And what do you think, whether it's the website or whether it's advertising, or what sort of things should we be watching out for that says, okay, they're starting to grow their numbers?
Probably be in sales. I mean, I don't think we report customers. Certainly scripts can be followed, and we follow them. It's basically scripts. And the major, and I will let the major changes in our approach to giving will probably not happen in the first quarter is over, second quarter. We expect to start in the third quarter to see the significant changes in the number of customers from 30,000 to access the 1 million+ customers.
Gotcha. You said sort of the big change in the website or the add-on that you're talking about. Is that the time frame we're looking for?
Yes.
Is it sort of third, fourth quarter, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. So conceivably we can see sort of an inflection point right around that point if things start to go well.
Yes, that would be that would be the next milestone for us, and that is sometime in the summer, having it having it activated and then starting to work and growing from there.
Okay, fantastic. I've sort of run out of questions here. I'm just trying to think. Maybe the best thing I can do is hand it over to you. And if there's a key sort of takeaway message or a parting message you want to make sure all the investors that are listening today walk away from, what would that be?
Basically, I think following the innovative models and seeing how our execution on the use of mail order, pharmacy, and home delivery will transform not only our company, but be part of the transformation of the industry. Some have, so that'll be Mark Cuban is just starting to look at this model, and that's public knowledge. So that's really where we see a huge opportunity, and so excited about the opportunity to execute on it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's exciting times for sure. And like I said, I think, COVID and a whole bunch of other factors are probably speeding up the adoption of this type of method of sales, which, anything that can more efficiently bring down healthcare costs, I think is a very, very good thing. So Albert, if somebody wants to find out more information, what's the website address?
Medicure.com, and my email or access through Medicure.com, and you can reach me if you want. Anybody can reach me. You don't have to go through IR at Medicure. You can go AD Friesen at Medicure. AD Friesen, Albert David.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned IR is a question I should have asked, but you guys, what are you guys doing as far as IR right now, investor relations?
We have a test contract with Renmark, although we haven't spent a lot of time doing it. We had no IR until 3 or 4 months ago at all. Mm-hmm. Basically, I wanted to focus on the business.
Fair enough.
But now we got to share the opportunity.
Fantastic. And hopefully this is a starting point right now. And we've got a number of listeners that will have seen the message for the first time. Dr. Friesen, thank you for joining us today. I'm fascinated by what you guys are doing. I'm certainly going to wish you as much success as possible. Hopefully after I buy some shares in the company. But until then, I really, really appreciate the time you spent with us today and helping to get the story out.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Trevor, and thank you for all that are on the call. Really appreciate your interest. And always open, any questions, anytime.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.